you should conceal or try to downplay your accomplishments to give each other a chance to get to know each other first. Of course, if they get to know you, they've already fallen for your character, for your personality, because there's so much more behind the achievements, right? So you need to let him through the door first. It's like Vampire Diaries when they need to knock first. They can't come through the door if you don't give them a chance. So these are maximizer types. Try people that issue very proactive strategies to find partners. Hi everyone, welcome to Date Right for Your Type. I'm Dr. Sandy Toe, and today we're going to be talking about dating as an undercover mission. Okay, so I am not an advocate of experts who tell you that you need to throw your achievements out there for your date in the very, very first time, so that he will know, what you are, what you're made of, and then determine if he can accept you or not. Okay, so I don't think that this method will work because the chances are you're not giving him a chance to know the real you outside of your achievements. Okay, so if you very initially throw out all your achievements and try to test whether he can accept you or not, well, you got the answer. He's not going to, right? So you have actually sabotaged the chance for him to get to know you outside of your achievements, okay? So what we want to do is actually treat dating as an undercover mission, very much like the show Undercover Boss. Okay, so you probably watched Undercover Boss before, and it's very successful because there are two sides, right? The boss, or like a senior manager, going undercover as a member of the employee of the staff, and then infiltrating the staff as like a newcomer. Hence, there are the cameras, right? So he or she would say that they're doing a show regarding some newcomers to the company, right? So something like that. But it's very believable, and so they probably, some of them probably disguise themselves because their faces might have been shown on the company websites in their suits and everything, right? Looking very respectable. So like a lot of them, they do some disguising, maybe putting on a mustache, or for a girl putting on a wig or something, and then they pose as like a new member of staff, right? So they go amongst the employees, and then they have lunch together, they work in their shift together, and they talk, and then they would want to know who's working well and who's like a great part of the team, and who's like a misfit, or who's doing their job properly or not. And then afterwards, they would like give a very realistic appraisal because they're not coming in as a boss, right? So obviously, if you came in as a boss, your staff would be like intimidated, right? And they would probably not show their real selves. They would pose, as hard workers, while when you're gone, they're obviously, gonna drop the facade, and they're gonna, go back to where they were, and you would never know the real them, not in front of the boss, right? So they would get a really realistic appraisal of their staff by going undercover as a member of them, okay? So the other way round is that the member of the staff, they also get a good glimpse of their boss sans the facade of a boss, okay? So outside being a boss, what is it like for them to be a member of them, right? So they can really have heart-to-heart talks about their trials and tribulations they face at work and in personal life. So a lot of them, they share their innermost problems or secrets with their new staff member, not knowing that it's the boss. So obviously, if it were the boss, like calling you into their plush office, in their swanky chair, in front of their desk, to talk about, yeah, hey, how's your day? Like, how do you like working here? Do you have any problems at home? Like, of course, like that person would be intimidated and they would not want to speak the truth, right? So, but if you are going into there as a member of them, like not, like a high status boss, then obviously they would be more attuned, like, and encouraged to share more of their lives with you, like in a more genuine respect. Okay. So that was the whole purpose of the show, to give like some mutual understanding, to like give both parties a chance to know each other better without the status burden, right? So yeah, it's really successful, that show, and you could feel like, genuine connection between the two, without the status burden. So the same thing is with you, as a highly accomplished woman going on a date with someone, regardless of the guy's status. But it gives you a chance for you to let him know you outside of your achievements. I'm not telling you to lie about your accomplishments, right? So that would be disingenuous. So not really like lying about or belittling yourself or something, but just to like downplay them, or not to like shove it in his face, right? Because no one likes people who brag. So think about it the other way. If the guy, like your date, when you ask them, hey, so what are your hobbies? And then he says, hey, well, I have 3 cars, all sports cars, and 2 homes or something, then you would probably be a bit put off too if he shoved it in your face, right? So the fact is that it's good to have achievements. Of course, you're proud of them, and why shouldn't you be? But you shouldn't actually throw them all out in the first instance, out of probably just general politeness, like for etiquette, right? So think of it. You've only known this guy for maybe like 5 minutes. So obviously you're not going to pour out everything you have in front of him. Okay, so you're saying, hey, I didn't intentionally do that, right? So it's not like I'm going on a job interview. Obviously, I'm smart enough to know I'm not going on a job interview. I'm going on a date, for God's sake. I know that, right? So it's not that I'm spilling out like my CV in front of this guy. Yes, we know. But the thing is, remember last week we talked about, maybe did you do something wrong during the date that you unwittingly sabotaged it, or made him not call you back for another one or pursue the relationship? Is it broccoli between your teeth, or you like dressing wrongly or something? And we assured you that it's probably not because of these superficial things, but maybe it was something you said without you knowing it. Right? So without you actually categorizing all your achievements like in a CV, you probably just very innocently, when the guy asked you, hey, how's your day? Right? So you would respond very like innocently, like you would if your mom asked you this question, or if your colleague or your girlfriend asked you this question. You would say, oh yeah, it's, I had such a long day. I was trying to like land this humongous deal and this client, and like I'm trying to make partner, right? So if I do that, then I'll be made partner by the end of the year. So you probably said something very innocently like that, like you would always tell anyone. Right? So, but you know what? Maybe that very innocent deed had put your date off without any of you knowing it, unconsciously, right? Because maybe during that time, your date also didn't feel that intensely, but maybe afterwards, he went back and he thought about it, right? And it gave him 24 hours, 48 hours to mull over it. And then he realized that just the reality of how accomplished you are. And then he just thought, well, it's maybe better being with someone who's less accomplished, right? So maybe it was something you said without you knowing it, right? So just remember one thing is that, yeah, your achievements are there for you to be proud of, obviously, not saying that you shouldn't, but I think on the initial dates, you should downplay them a little, like you would in a very, polite like situation, like a cordial situation, in order to not be like shoving it in someone's face and thinking that you would also feel uncomfortable if your date had talked excessively about his accomplishments too. Okay, so one thing that we should remember. So yeah, I had once interviewed a really accomplished woman, probably one of the most accomplished ones I have on hand, right? So she is both a PhD and an MBA. Like she has both, okay? And she's like quite like renowned in her research in the scientific field, probably. And like off to a great career in research. And I remember she had like a particular set of strategies that she shared. It was that she was really fed up with guys rejecting her on the first instance because of what they saw on paper. Because her people who introduced guys to her had always told the guys that, hey, there's this girl who's really fabulous, but she has like a PhD and an MBA. And then probably those guys would, like, without even seeing her, would like shut the door, right? They shut the gate. They would say, what? Okay, well, that's like much too highly accomplished for me. Like, that's too highly educated, right? So they would shut the door immediately without even meeting her. So like after a host of these failed introductions, this girl actually told people who, well-meaning friends who wanted to introduce guys to her that, hey, can you not tell people that I'm a PhD and an MBA if that makes them feel uncomfortable? Because I don't want to be rejected without them even seeing my face. Okay, so yeah, that was like so smart. Fair enough, right? Because hey, if she had not given this instruction to her introducers, she would just keep on going through the same ordeal over and over, right? Without even letting the guy know her, they would have rejected her for what they saw on paper. So I think this is a really good starting point. It's a really good advice for all accomplished women out there, is that you should conceal or try to downplay your accomplishments to give each other a chance to get to know each other first, right? So, in contrary to the expert, a lot of dating experts advise that you should throw everything out there, throw your achievements out there to see if he accepts it or not. I think it's the other way round. You should give them a chance to know you as you, son's accomplishments first. And then, of course, if they get to know you, they've already fallen for your character, for your personality, because there's so much more behind the achievements, right? So they've fallen in love with you first, and then they get to know that, oh, okay, she is very accomplished too. Okay, I've, won the golden ticket. Right? So that would be such an extra plus, and that would really prevent you from being like discriminated against in the first instance. You need to put your foot inside the door first, is what I'm saying. So if you got the gate closed in front of your nose, slammed in front of your nose, then you would not ever get a chance to get to know the guy, and he never to know you. if they only saw what was good on paper, right? So it's like giving each other a chance, a good, honest chance to get to know each other up close and personal and raw before the accomplishments take place. So he would have fallen for your wonderful character, right? And then he wouldn't get intimidated, I would think. Yeah, so you need to let him through the door first. It's like Vampire Diaries, when they need to knock first. They can't come through the door if you don't give them a chance, right? So they'll turn into dust, right? So they'll burn to death before they even got through your door, right? So that's like really good advice that my very accomplished friends had given, right? So she's obviously what we call a maximizer type, right? So we're finally onto the types here, because I keep asking you guys, hey, what is your type? Are you traditionalist, maximizer, satisfizer, or innovator, right? So a maximizer type is someone who makes the most out of her chances of finding the right partner. So obviously, to maximize her goal, which is marriage, like she has this goal that is like a marriage goal, right? So she wants her relationships to end in marriage, and she also wants to find a partner who is of equal status as her, who is just as accomplished as her, and she's not going to compromise on that. And the difference between someone who's a maximizer and a traditionalist is both of them have the same set of marriage goals and the same criteria for finding a man, which is someone who is their equal in terms of achievements and economic status, except a traditionalist is not as proactive as a maximizer. A maximizer type is much more proactive in that they will devise these strategies, like my scientist friend, downplaying their accomplishments or concealing it initially in order for the guy to step into the door first, right? So to let the guy get to know them first and to make opportunities for the guy, right? To give each other a chance. So these are maximizer types, people that issue very proactive strategies to find partners. Right. So yeah, there'll be more maximizer strategies that I will share later in other episodes. But for now, yeah, well, let's focus on, encouraging you to think of dating as an undercover mission. Yeah. So not to show everything you have, but to, keep something for yourself first and let the guy through the door first, at least. Right. Right. Okay. So, having said that, I actually had, when I was dating my husband in the first instance, I couldn't help but share my book with him because, you know what? It was the first month that it came out. Okay, so if you were me, you couldn't help it either. Okay, so I was just too excited. It was literally the first month it came out, and then I met him, right, through friends. And I just couldn't help but show him, on my phone, a poster of my book, right? So there was this advertising poster back then. Yeah, I didn't shove the book in his face. I didn't bring the book out, right? But I showed him a poster because I was just too psyched about it. And who wouldn't, right? So it was literally the first month it came out. Maybe if I knew him another month, a few months after, I wouldn't be so enthusiastic and couldn't stop myself. But anyway, luckily he wasn't put off. He was amused, and it was as if he's heard of it before. So I don't know, maybe he dug me out and he dug some info out and he already knew. Yeah, well, obviously, in this day and age, the guys that we date, they probably saw our social media profiles and they know a bit about our backgrounds. And especially if you have LinkedIn, right? So LinkedIn is different. It's not like Instagram, Facebook, where you can choose what to show, but LinkedIn is a professional profile, you say. And I'm not going to lie about my job there or my job title, right? So chances are he may have come across that already, okay? And he does know about your background. But, it makes all the difference in the world how you present yourself. So instead of presenting yourself like you would in front of like your colleague or someone you're out to impress, you're presenting yourself genuinely as someone who's probably not at a work dinner or a work party. You're just presenting yourself normally without emphasizing you landing a big client or you trying to make partner at this firm, right? So the way you present yourself as being very modest also helps as well. So to be more low-key about your professional life and emphasizing your personal life in front of your personal date, right? So that makes a lot of sense, right? So it's I know it's very hard, but as women, we do need to distinguish between our professional lives and our personal lives. As accomplished women, there is a bit of a cross to bear in terms of this, and we'll talk much more about this in terms of the balance between professional and personal. I think it's just like a cross to bear, but it's worth contemplating. It's really worth reflecting upon it if you really want to succeed in your personal life as well. So there's work to be done because of your accomplishments, but that's okay. I mean, it's not hard work. I mean, like if you do some work, you work upon it, and not just think that you can just sit back and just be yourself in every scenario in life, then having that starting point is good. Having that mental reset is will work wonders for your personal life. All right. Okay, so back to my husband. So I showed him the poster of my book, and he wasn't like obviously he wasn't put off. Like he was amused, and he did ask me about it and stuff. But you know what? After the date, I did some remedial work. Okay, it wasn't that I just let it at that. And then I just like went back and I did nothing and hoped for the best. So yeah, I did some remedial work, and like I tried to follow up and encourage him to pursue me, right? Because obviously we had like mutual interest at that point. We sat at that restaurant until 11 p.m. until the restaurant closed, literally. We were the last people there, the last table there, and they had to like put the check in front of us. So they were closing. I think they shut down a few of the lights in the back and stuff. I so remember that scenario. Yeah, I mean, obviously we had so much compatibility. The conversation went until the restaurant closed. So obviously there was something there, and then there's some there's something that had to be done afterwards to encourage it, and it can't all be coming from the guy, right? Especially if you know that you're in like a position that you are quite accomplished, then you don't know if he's intimidated at that point. So you do have to do some work to encourage it. Like I know maybe going against the rules, right? Remember the very traditional rules that tell you that it must be the man who pursues the woman. So I think that's like a bit I'm not going to say it's completely outdated, but nowadays, if you're a woman who is successful, you need to do a little something to encourage the man to pursue you, right? To give them also, like I said before, to give them some room to step into your door, to open the door a crack, right? Or like a vampire, to invite them in so that they don't turn into dust without even getting their foot inside the door, right? So you have to make opportunities for them to ensure that they will pursue this chance to be with you, or else they'll just be intimidated, period. That's the end of the story as well, right? So no matter how well the conversation flowed, how compatible you are, you must give them a chance to step into the door to pursue you, right? So what I did was, like at that point we were sending text messages to each other several times a day already, and I remember him saying something like commenting on like a new ice skating rink somewhere. And I know ice skate. I know how to ice skate too, but I just didn't think that would be an ideal follow-up. So I said something like, oh, you know what? I think you can do better than that. How about a movie for a change? So I think I said something like that, and he immediately said, "Oh, cool. Are you free on Friday night? There's this movie that's on," right? So yeah, I gave him a chance to follow up. I gave him a chance to step into the door. I opened up a crack so he could he could step in and open up the whole door, right? So I'm not opening up the whole door, but I'm, opening up a crack so that he could step in. And he can be the one to open up the whole door later. So yeah, so this is what we need to do. If you feel that you've been, come across men who had been intimidated by your achievements, and if you're like, you're focused on trying to improve your personal life and trying to attract the guys that you want to you, I think that one thing we need to do is, to employ some strategies like the maximizer types, right? So to be a maximizer and be more proactive and thinking up some strategies to try to eliminate the discrimination from men who we're interested in, and to give them a chance to get to know you and your brilliant personality and character outside of the achievements. So why not, right? So taking advice from this very brilliant scientist friend who actually is married now, happily married. She finally found a guy who is not intimidated by her because she let him have a chance to know the real her first before she showed him everything. Okay, so remember that eventually you will be able to show him everything you want, right? So, but the initial period, the very vulnerable period, is not the time, okay? So you don't want to shove it in his face before he gets a chance to know you. All right, so thank you so much for being here. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please go comment on the Date Right for Your Type Instagram page. And I can't wait to share with you again and discuss with you again next week. Okay, have a great day and see you next week. Bye.